If my setup is there, I swing. And if my setup's not there, I just wait. Sam's a hell of a beer drinker and a race car driver. Narrow your focus. Pick the one thing that you are going to master.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Trading Takes with myself, Sam, Chris, and Judah, presented to you by Investors Underground. Now, tonight we've got another absolute legend of the game, over 2 decades of trading. I first met him 2 Trades for a Cause ago, and the last Trades for a Cause, he decided to challenge me, see who could chug a beer the quickest. He obviously lost. But let's welcome, obviously, Scott Manzo. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Sam, but you left out an important part that I don't think you're aware of. There you were. You look lonely. No one's talking to you. I felt bad, and I'm like, how can I build this guy's confidence up? So being a beer chugging expert, I said, I'm going to take one for the team here, and let this guy win. And if you saw the video, that's not true. Sam's a hell of a beer drinker and a race car driver. He seems to be good at everything. I might be better than him at trading, and as long as there's one thing I can beat you, and I'll take it.
You can definitely beat me at that. And to be fair, like I'm so competitive. I genuinely used to practice. I used to practice with not with beer, but with like water, and just be like every morning. I'll just be like, right, let's get some reps in. But anyway, that just shows you how competitive and sad I am. Just for the purpose of tonight, I think most people, nearly everyone, will know who you are. But just in case they don't, just to bring them up to speed, who is Scott Manzo?
Oh, well, I don't want to bore everybody with the details, but I'm from Massachusetts. I finished high school down here at Florida. Went to University of Florida, got finance degree, had a couple of different jobs I didn't like, got into trading. I had some friends that were in trading, and I left being a stockbroker for 8 years, and then went into trading full time. And I've been doing it the last 21 years. And it's been a really good ride, and I've been blessed with a beautiful wife I've been married to for 30 years, and got some kid who's 26 and 29, and life's going good, with exception of a few hiccups here and there. And we'll talk about some of that in a little bit.
Yeah, and you're definitely one of the good guys out there. I'd say one of the first people I sort of met, and it's a pleasure to have you on tonight. So let's kick it off with, I want to know, what is your very first memory of trading? It can be happy or sad. Like when someone says, "What's your first memory?" Where'd you go?
Well, seeing how I'm 55 years old and we're doing this, for those that don't know, today's May 1st. It was Fed Day. Market's been a little sketchy lately. Powell came on, ripped the SPYs $7 up and then $8 down. So we're doing this interview after that. So if I forget my name or where I'm at, I'm a little spent on the day. What was the question again, Sam? No, I'm just messing with you. First memory, is probably just just some of the bigger losses that I incurred in the beginning that I never thought, were ever going to happen. Is there one thing that stands out, from way back when? I would say I was in a room with like 10 guys, and we were all looking at the same stuff, and 90% of them were struggling and 10% could figure it out. And I'm like, I guess, we just all see this, a little bit differently. This is pretty challenging, and there's been so many lessons along the way. But, seeing some guys fail and leave that were smarter than me, and, that part of it was, just kind of shocking. It was like a wake up call. It's like, well, this isn't all about your SAT score.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that's kind of, one of my first impressions.
I think that's one of the most surprising things is like how many of my, like I always say, like my original friends, the people I first started with, first met. I mean, there's hardly like that class. There's hardly anyone about now. I find that such like a, I don't know, it's quite sobering, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just can't take trading for granted.
Yeah.
You're one trade away, always from something, terrible happening. You got to stay on your toes, for sure. But to see the people come and go over the years, because I used to work in an office with a bunch of traders, like there's, say there was 30 guys, there's like, 3 left, and one guy, has been doing it longer than me. He's one of the others, and um, the other guy was just a good listener and didn't have a big ego.
So what did you do differently than them? That you were the one that stuck?
Um, I think being a stockbroker for 8 years and then coming into this gave me like a big advantage. Um, I learned pretty quick from like my mistakes. I don't like losing. I'm competitive. Um, we all have the same scanners, right? It's just a matter of like what we decide to trade, and why am I trading this one and you trading this one, and this setup just looked better to me, and I was really not interested in. Everybody wants to come in and trade. I don't want to come in and trade. I want to come in and find the best possible setups that I can identify and decide if I want to trade those. So I'm looking not necessarily. I actually trade very little during the day. On an average day, I might trade 2, 3, 4, 5 names. Some days I don't trade at all. If my setup is there, I swing, and if my setup's not there, I just wait. And I think everyone else came in and like just wanted to, trade every day. And I don't want to trade. I want to make money. And if making money means don't trade, then that's how I keep my money. And like making money is easy. Keeping it is, tougher when market conditions change.
Yeah. And Scott, would you say that you're a pretty patient person overall, or like did you have to develop that patience?
It was again about trying to put together the winning formula. Like if I don't want to, if you want to do this for a career, you don't, want to have a lot of stress, because stress causes burnout, um, shortens careers, makes you unhappy, miserable. It's unhealthy. Your body doesn't function so good. And I learned um, after a couple of years that I'm going to focus on trading A plus setups. And if I trade A plus setups and I can make $500,000 a year and it's not overly stressful, or I can keep myself super busy all day and have a lot of stress and make $600,000 a year, what's better, for me? So I decided I'm okay with doing less, because it reduces my stress. I don't want to have stress. Stress is like, it just ruins everything. So patience, coming in. I'm just used to, coming in and sitting here waiting for somebody to make a mistake that I can take advantage of. I don't want to be the guy making the mistake. Sometimes I'll stop out on the high or stop out on the low, and that's just the nature of the beast in trading. It happens to everybody. But like patience, in like in the real world, maybe not so much. In trading, it's a must.
No, that's very interesting. And one of the things one of the first things I always think of when I think of you is your talk from Trades for a Cause 2 years ago, and it just really stuck with me ever since then. And like we always talk about aha moments on this show, and just to record, guys, we are running that contest. So any aha moments or just comments from the show, please comment below, like, subscribe, and comment below. But you spoke about there are days where you wake up and you're like, I'm going to send my defense out, and there are days when I wake up and I'm going to send my offense out. Could you just talk a little bit about that? I just found that, I don't know, it just resonated with me, those couple of years ago.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think a lot of new traders or inexperienced traders make is they approach every trading day the same way, and they approach the market um, the same way every day. And you learn that, the market kind of goes in cycles. Like, for example, the first quarter of this year, January, February, and March, were very good trading months for most people. A lot of people are up a lot of money. If you didn't get stung really bad in a short squeeze, or you weren't stubborn, there was a lot of opportunities because there was a lot of volatility. Stuff was flying around, and you should have banked, in my opinion. Now April comes around, and you could sense that, like, breakouts, which I never take, were not working. If they did happen to break out, they often fizzled. So there was a change in the character of the market. And that starts off very slight, and then it typically becomes extreme. A correction in the stock market of 20% doesn't go down 20% in a day. It's the termites eat underneath the surface, and the more you can see that not everything's going up anymore. And then it just, it can kind of crumble real fast. So I'm very good at identifying changes in the marketplace, and that's important because if you're catching falling knives or shorting, massive spikes, those changes are really important because things can go further than you think in both directions when there's a change in the character of the market. So I kind of approach it like every day I come in, I look at my scanners, and if my scanners are really active, it's like, okay, we got a lot of volatility today. This is good. Be prepared. When I come in and the scanners are dead and there's a change in the character of the market, you think about it like being like the weather, right? There's a change in the weather. It's not hot and sunny anymore. It's now cold and rainy or snowing. You have to approach things differently. Like if you're a football coach and you're playing the Miami Dolphins in 90-degree weather, and then you go up to Buffalo Bills and it's or Green Bay and it's snowing and it's 0 degrees outside. As a coach, you have to change the way you do things. I'm not going to be playing so much offense. I got to be playing more defense. Today is maybe not a day to look aggressive to make money. Today is the day to not get hurt and give back. So I think about it as offense or defense. How aggressive am I going to be each day when I come in? And to steal like to borrow a saying from Chris Rock, he has a saying that you make your money during the day and you collect your money at nighttime. And the way it works in the stock market is you make your money really when the market's closed, and you collect your money when the market's open. And if you think about that, it's all the work that you do pre-market and after market and the studying and so forth, so that when you come in and you see your setup, you know what to do. If you're not prepared and you don't know that there's a change in the weather, there's a change in the market, you're not like fully prepared, and someone else is working harder and putting in the time.
Mm-hmm. You've touched on there, like change of character, change of weather. I know you mentioned like scanners that are either lit up or perhaps they're quieter, but is there anything else that goes into it? And like, how much of that is down to experience now? And because obviously, like if you time anything wrong, obviously any cycle wrong, you either miss out on an opportunity or you get stung by an opportunity. So, what else is going into that?
I have just routines that I've developed over time, and they probably should be modified, and I probably waste some time doing it. But my routines are super important to me. That consistency, not only in trading, but in what I do in the morning to get ready for the market, and then at nighttime, I'm like not a big TV watcher. I'll catch up on my, on my Twitter feed or watch videos. But if you're not in tune with the market, it's going to be it's going to be a lot tougher. And we can talk about some of the tools that I use, or if that that I can share with people. But I know my trading setups. I come in, I trade my setups, but I spend an enormous amount of time learning about markets and the ever-changing environment that we're in, and what's important and what's not important. So I spend a lot of time doing that, and that time I don't necessarily. I think the information that I learned from that doesn't necessarily help me make money. It keeps me out of trouble.
Do you
That's important.
You're right.
do you change with the markets, or do you stay away from the markets when they're not in tune with how you trade?
So the way that I trade is I'm there's in my opinion, there's two types of trading. There's momentum trading and there's mean reversion trading. Yeah, there's arbitrage, but there are no arbitrage guys, that's done in, the hedge fund world and so forth. For momentum trading, if you get really good at that, then you understand maybe the other side, mean reversion trading. If you're really good at mean reversion trading, then you kind of understand who's on the other side of your trade. And getting back to your question, I forgot what it was.
It was if you are always in the market, or do you
One day, right?
Oh, yeah.
you're always trading your style in the market, or do you sit out when it's not in tune with how you usually trade?
Yeah, so I consider my style to always be in vogue because it's fear and greed. And it's just a matter, are we in the greed cycle? So stocks are going parabolic, small caps are getting crazy. Market's going up a lot. I'm doing a lot of shorting because I'm a mean reversion trader. Now the market is, going the other direction, and it's weak and it's diving down. Well, I'm catching those falling knives, a little on front side. The other side of the V, as Lance likes to say. So when there's not a lot of volatility and the market is just steady chug, 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 I'm doing a lot less. When there is a lot of volatility, whether it's to the upside or the downside, that's when I'm staying active. But the type of setups that I trade are either they're just either longs or shorts because I'm, taking the other side of the trade. The crowds are usually wrong. So, Jason Shapiro says, fade, don't trade. If you go against, you have to learn how to do it properly. But there's always something for me to do. But just to clue you in on how inactive I am trading, let me get your opinion, the three of you. Sam, what does a busy month trading for you look like? 500,000 shares, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million? Like how many shares? You trade a lot of small caps. So
Trade a lot of small caps. I don't actually know my volume wise, but if you were looking at how many tickets do I trade on average a day? Today was 1. My average is 2 or 3.
And how about you, Jonah?
It's usually they're a couple hundred to a couple thousand, but yeah, it's really in the uptrending market, it's the same, and then downtrending or choppy market, it's barely active at all. So it's really just in the uptrending market there's action, and then in those sideways and choppy action, yeah, there's small caps to trade, but eventually, I don't want to.
Gotcha. And Chris?
I'm usually about 2 or 3 trades a day.
Okay.
I'm not very active. Again, I do a lot of option stuff, so it's more picking spots for me.
And just to like give you guys an idea how someone like me trades, I'm trading large cap stocks. When the small cap market heats up and we get some really nutty action, then I'm definitely getting involved in that. I really enjoy that, but for the daily grind, that's not my thing. I'd rather trade Nvidia and AMD and Meta and Amazon and those are the names. So I'm trading names like that. So we're in the beginning of May. I'm not sure that I broke 500,000 shares, higher than that a month in January, February, March. So that's only buying or shorting 250,000 shares, right? And then the other side of the volume is the exit.
Yeah.
And take that for 20 trading days. So on average, like I might trade 5,000 shares in a day, but I can make 10 grand doing that. Or I might trade 25,000 shares in a day. Do I have days where I trade 100,000 shares? Yeah. And obviously, if you're a small cap guy and you're trading stocks under $1, this doesn't apply. But I trade that little volume. I have a lot of money in my account and all my various accounts, but I don't always put that firepower to work. I'm not great at compounding. Like Brian Lee has taught us all to do. So that's how inactive I am, and trading that size, I can still get to a 7-figure year at the end of the year if I trade really well. So it's quality, not quantity, and that's just how I've been doing it.
But I think that's like such a strong message, because like one of our questions tonight was like, what does it take? What does being a professional trader for decades look like? And it just sounds like it sounds like you put a shitload of work in, like all the time. But B is just actually how well you know your setups and how selective you are as well. And then when you get a chance, you swing that bat and you swing it hard.
Yeah, I do. I try to really only, again, to reduce stress, I just try to trade A+ setups. So when do I go into a drawdown? I go into a drawdown when I just get annihilated on a day and I should have been out of a stock, long or short, and I didn't, and I hold it too long, and I have one bad day. And maybe that bad day wipes out a week, 2 weeks, a month, and we'll talk about a bad trade in a little bit. It can wipe out a lot more than that. But, for the most part, when you're a mean reversion trader, you have like high win rates. You go into a little drawdown, but, on average, I lose 2-3 days a month, maybe 4. I can go 2 months without losing, but I don't like try to get green every day. Those are the results. And if you trade only A+ setups, and you know what you're doing, I find it avoidable to go into big drawdowns. Now, again, if you have a one-off and it's a bad day and a bad trade, I get it. But if you just wait for A+ setups, you shouldn't be losing, 7 out of 10 days.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that's always, and I know I touched on that, when we first met, but that really resonated with me. And we were actually playing blackjack once, and it came, and you just said to me, like, how well do you know your, and it was a rhetorical question, but you said to me, how well do you know your A+? And I just went back to the drawing board then and was like, whatever I do over the next year, I've got to define what that looks like. And when it looks like that, that's when I trade. And if it doesn't look like that, I'll pass. Because a lot of the time, like, I find myself just burning mental capital trying to trade. And I find like the sweet spot, it can be like, I can trade like 5 or 6 a day, but I've just found the sweet spot to be lower frequency with more, perhaps a little bit more conviction a little bit less stressed, like you're talking about. You know, I'm thinking about my heart. My heart's been through a ton already, and I just want to chill out. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not sure where I was going with that. I'm just saying, like, I think that just resonates. Then, you know, thank you for those points.
you got to put your blinders on and focus on, you know, your setup. And like if you're on Twitter, it's like people shame you for like missing SMCI and missing these other things. And it's very easy to talk about trading on Twitter. Talking about trading and executing your game plan are very different things. Very, very, very different things. So when you see that stuff on like Twitter and you feel bad, you know, don't worry about it. There's days where people make huge money piling into momentum names, and those I'm either, you know, if I get the right setup, I'm gonna take the other side of it. But if not, I'm not making money doing that. That's just, you know, not my, you know, that's not my thing. So I keep my blinders on. I really don't care what, uh, you know, you read this stuff and again, you feel like terrible. And it's like, here I am. I'm up hundreds of thousands of dollars this year and I feel terrible. You know, I'm underperforming, and it's, you know, so the shame thing is bullshit. You
Yeah.
are what you know, to take a line from Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are. And if your record says that, you know, you're a very good trader and you stick to your knitting, those are the facts. You can spin it any way you want it, but
Yeah.
you know, the numbers don't lie, and you have to do, you know, what works for you in your comfort zone.
And that's another thing that Brian Lee says as well. I know you mentioned Brian. We spoke to Brian a few weeks ago, but you have to it's really hard to skip levels as well. And I think that's something that Twitter can really do as well. Social media in general is people all of a sudden see someone making, you know, X 10,000 on a trade and they only made one, and then they try and get to that 10K the next time, and then before they know it, bang, half of their account's gone or whatever. You just have to go through those risk levels. I mean, social media is amazing, but it can be such a shithole.
Yeah, so it's like 90% bad, but then there's a 10% of the people that you found, and then you meet them at Traders for a Cause, and you become friends, and you go every year, and then you see them again and again and again, and you know, those are the real, you know, the real dudes, the real women. That, you know, that's, you know, that's the awesome, you know, the awesome part of it. But you know, for most part in trading, you know, less is more. You'll make more money and you'll have less stress, and you know, those are the keys. If you know, if you try to jump levels and get rich really quickly, you know, for example, if you know, people are trying to figure out what chat room do I join, you know, do I want to, oh, you know, look, I'll just follow Zach Morris and he'll call out a stock and it'll go up. If I was joining a chat room, one of the first you know, I'd like to speak to the person who runs it or some other people. It'd be like, you know, what am I going to get in here? And if somebody says, you know, you're a new trader, if you don't hear that this is going to take you, you know, 3 to 5 years to get really good at this, and knows what your expectations should be, because you got to spend a year or two building a foundation, and then you got to figure out what type of, you know, along the way, what type of trader I am, and then you got to, you know, narrow your focus and become an expert, you know, in one thing.
I think
If you try to do 4 things when you're just starting out trading, you will fail at all 4.
I think another issue that some traders have is seeing ahead and seeing the future of building an account. So instead of you know, thinking of what they could do every day, small or large, be it the outcome a year from now, they want to see, like, yeah, like Sam said, the number that people are posting on Twitter, and to make small money a day doesn't seem like much in a day, but like there's so many trading days in a year that like it all adds up. And that's the hard part about trading, is that like when you lose a certain amount today, you think you have to make that back tomorrow. Meanwhile, you have another, you know, 249 days to do it if you're still in the beginning of the year, or even if you're today, you know, looking a year from now. So that's another thing that I think, you know, you have to be aware of, is like there's plenty of trading days and it adds up. You know, you don't have to make everything in one day. And that's where people sort of get lost and like turn their blind eye when trades going the wrong way, is like they think that it needs to come back today. But like today is 1 out of 250, 252 or 240 or whatever, however many days you're trading a year. So I think
You're,
that's a big issue.
you're spot on that. Like, first off, Nate can go get a haircut and the market will tank. Like, that's, a 90% win rate. If you believe in astrology or, that type of stuff, seems to be the case. I can plan a vacation around something massive happening in the market. If I take a Thursday or a Friday off and travel for the weekend, something massive always happens. I have missed so many big trades in my career. It's unbelievable. My ability to miss like huge trades, it's just uncanny. I hit some too, but getting back to your point, it doesn't matter. It's one day. It's like you look at your numbers at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, and they are what they are. You don't even you walk away each day like, oh, I should have done this and should have done this, should have done this. Take it easy. Slow down.
Yeah, but Scott, the weird thing not the weird thing, but the funny thing at the moment, like particularly on Twitter, there seems to be like a growing trend of people almost like full porting their account every time, huge levels of risk relative to their account size. Now, sadly, I saw, on Twitter, there's someone who did that today and then had a good, really solid April, sized up coming into May, and then pretty much bang, account gone. You pick the wrong name, size up on the wrong name, and then you can be in trouble, right? But if you were adopting that and if you were that aggressive, perhaps early in your career, do you think you would have had the longevity that that you've had, or do you?
So I never blew up an account, and I was profitable my first year. I wasn't necessarily trading the system that I was now. I was using those tools that I still use today, but I was doing things differently. But I was profitable, so I didn't blow up an account. I came close last year. So I didn't have to experience that, but there was a time where I had like $150,000 or $200,000 account and I lost like 50 grand, and that was devastating. Back then to lose that kind of money. But I still haven't met anybody that like has had the pain-free, stress-free ride in trading. It doesn't matter. Something is going to happen.
Yeah, but there's a difference between having like a slightly painful journey or having a painful journey, and to then, if that you take that 200 K account, for example, as disastrous as it was losing a quarter of it, what happens if you lose all of it and you're within that early part of your career? I don't know. It's just could be devastating, right?
I think younger people don't have the respect for money that older people have. If they lose it, they always think they can make it. As you get older, what trading has provided me more than anything else is I have a skill. And I know that if I put the skill to work that I worked very hard to develop, I can make money. I am either going to make a little bit of money or a lot of money and hopefully not lose money. But trading has given me a peace of mind. I go to sleep with a clean conscience every night. My integrity matters greatly to me. I want to help other people. I want to be a good guy. Those things mean just mean a ton to me. I can't overstate it. When you're young, you just don't really have the life experience, and you want to get rich quick, and you want to let everybody know about it. Right? I mean, the young guns out there that are opening chat rooms and doing well, they're posting P&Ls of $500,000, $700,000, $1 million, and so forth. 90% of people would never do that, but other people are starting services and running businesses. But I think the younger generation, they just want everything to happen so fast. And yeah, I want to go in the gym and and look like Sam in 2 weeks, and I want to go on a diet and lose 20 pounds in 5 days. The things in life that are worthwhile take a lot of time to do. So it's like slow and steady wins the race, reduce the stress. If you happen to be one of the young guys that developed a really good skill, and you're pressing and you're pushing and you're pressing and you're pushing, if you have risk controls in place, great. But how many people do? And usually when you find out you don't, it's because you lost. Not so that's kind of how it goes. But there's nothing wrong with uh, uh, that's not how I would be coaching somebody new in the business. But some of these guys are having success, but it's a handful. Everyone else is blown out or blown up, and disappeared.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's risky.
hmm absolutely. And there's so many things to unpick there for sure. But Chris, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, you've seen so many people kind of like go through this process. You've been through the process, like the slow and steady, doing things right, making things sustainable. And I would assume, it might not be super enjoyable, like starting out, but once you're in a routine, like to this day, would you say that you enjoy trading like day to day, or is it more like just a means to an end, or like, how do you think about trading? Like, how's your relationship with trading?
It I would describe it as healthy because it's on my terms. I work the hours that I want to work. Um, I leave when I want to leave. I go on vacation when I want to go on vacation. Um, like I and when I spend time at home, reading my Twitter feed or watching trading takes, um, it's because I truly enjoy that stuff. If you're an artist, you might want to read about artist. If you're an athlete, you might want to, Lionel Messi's over at the Heat game the other night, and one athlete wants to, see another athlete, and so forth. I truly enjoy it, and I think one of the reasons that stands out for me is this is it. I have the saying about trading. Trading's really hard. When something's really hard, not a lot of people can do it. When not a lot of people can do it, the financial reward can be great. So let's not hope the game gets easier. Let's get better at the game. And so I'm in a room with 20 guys, and there's two guys left. So 90% of the people fail, and 10% of the people make it. And of those people, maybe one goes on to be a superstar, and becomes a 7 or 8 figure trader. That's phenomenal. But I have a skill that your average person doesn't have, and I'm good at it. And when you guys are good at something, you enjoy doing it. If whether you're good at golf or playing sports or painting or whatever it is you're good at. So I get enjoyment that I can do this, and it's not everyone can. My friends that are smarter than me that tried trading, can't do it. They have, they're definitely uh, more intelligent, but they're not willing to abide by the rules of the trading gods to make money. And they're so smart they want to be right all the time. And I don't care about being right. I care about making money. I'm trying to extract money from the stock market on a daily basis so that I can go and have a great life and do the things that I want to do. And I'll probably never stop trading, but my first 5, 7 years when I started making real money, I didn't want to take time off. If I was, if I was making 500 grand a year, that's like $10,000 a week. And it's like, well, to go on vacation is going to cost me $6,000, and then I'm not going to make $10,000. And is a vacation worth $16,000 when you've got, say, a couple of $100,000 in the bank? And you develop the reality that you understand that you have a skill, and you worked very hard to get that skill. And I'm going to make money in the future. So now I don't worry about missing days or weeks. I've taken, the money and just started to really have great life experiences. Probably, I think probably when I turned 40, I started, doing a lot more stuff. But when I was young, I was so hungry, and I wanted the money so bad, and I didn't know if it was going to last. I thought maybe it was just a market cycle, but then I said, you know what, I have a skill. I can do this in an up market. I can do this in a down market. I just got to adjust and not take it for granted and stay on top of it. And that's kind of, how I think about trading.
Yeah, and I think that's how you really know that like you chose the right career in life. And it's like so many people, they do something that they might, enjoy for a while, but it's like they can't wait to retire. And I think with a lot of traders, it's more a matter of just how much do you scale back. But I've met very few traders who are good and successful over time who want to completely stop. And so that's a great retirement plan, to basically have something that you never want to fully retire from.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, some people have a bad relationship with money, and it's never enough, and they're competitive, and someone has more, and they want to be better. I don't live like that. I'm
Right.
happy to see my friends do well. I have some things that make me happy in life, and I try to share those, thoughts with them. But you can't change people, and if they just want, money, 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 that's great. But if money is not used to do the things that you like, or if you have enough money, if you have $10 million, there's no difference really between $12 million. Now there's a difference between maybe 10 and 20 and 10 and 50, but you eventually, if you get good at this, will have enough money to solve whatever money problems come your way. You need a new roof on your house, you have a medical bill to pay, you want to go on vacation, you want to buy a car, whatever it is. But like once you have like financial security and you have a peace of mind, I'm not really shooting to get to the next level. It's I like my job. I want to do it without a lot of stress, and I don't want to take it for granted, and I want to respect it.
It's so well said. But there is one thing I do have to pull you up on. But you say if you're good at something, what was it? You said if you're good at something, you want to keep doing it. But I can tell you, I am terrible at golf, but I absolutely love it, and I don't know why. But I am absolutely awful at it, but I keep wanting to play. So I mean, I think you can be crap at something and still really enjoy doing it. That's my point.
I've
So well said.
I've said before that if you're trading and you're not good at something, just stop. The only way you should pursue something that you're not good at is if the reward for doing it is something so great. And if you have a goal of being a great golfer, like I'm a little smaller version of you, Sam. I'm, a little barrel chested. I have no dexterity. I'm not very flexible. I live on a golf course. I've never picked up a golf club in my life. I know I'm going to suck at it, and I don't want to, go down that hole of missing all the other things going on in my life and the world to try to get good at that. So, but it being a goal, yeah, it's a challenge, but don't spend time on trying to get good at something where the reward isn't going to be worth the time.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing to clarify, and it's worth adding that I was the same in that I was like, I won't enjoy it. I mean, obviously, this isn't a golf podcast, even though I am doing my best to take it in that direction. But actually, the reward, you talk about the reward. Actually, the reward has been a better social life. So there almost is like a reward for me in that. Obviously, we have quite an isolated job. Actually, it gets me. You burn more calories playing a round of golf than you do a basketball game, for example. So I just
Who told you that bullshit?
I don't know, but I'm going to take it and believe it. No, that's such a great answer. And there's like a really overwhelming theme emerging from a lot of our guests, but and I'm thinking obviously I've met you in person also, I know this, but there's just an overwhelming theme that you just bloody love life and love what you do, which I think is so amazing. I don't think there are that many careers or people 20, 30 years into a career who, would have such a, smile as big as what you have?
I like solving the puzzle. It's a challenge every day, and I always want to be moving the ball forward. And it's I wake up every day and a little hungover, but like I can't wait to jump out of bed and get to work and get to my desk. And like I set my alarm for 5:30. I'll get to the office. I work in an office. It's 6:15. But if the market's telling me to be there at 4 or 5 because it's crazy season, I'll get up and do it. If not, I'll just be in my regular routine. But I love it. It's great. I actually feel like some days when I get out of bed, it's like hungover, and I need to clear my mind. When I go into work and I start looking at everything and charts and graphs and numbers and readings and going through research and all that stuff, it gets it clears me up. And the other interesting thing is when you have nothing to do, you think about your problems all the time, right? And also when you have bad things happen to you, if you're not doing anything, you dwell on them. So, once a year I get in a fight with my wife, or, I get in an argument with one of my kids or something. When I go to my office and I sit in front of my computer, it allows me to zone out of what's bothering me, focus on my trading day. Now, if I'm very upset, I won't trade. I don't know, maybe that happens once a year or once every 2 years, but if you're in an emotional state, don't trade. But getting back to it, when I sit in front of my computer, time goes by. And when time goes by, time solves all problems. What seemed to be a big deal 5 hours ago really isn't a big deal now. You go home, you apologize, even if you're not wrong, because
that's marriage.
Yeah. Well, saying you're wrong, saying sorry is kind of like saying you're wrong in the stock market. If you never say you're sorry, I bet you're probably not a very good trader.
That's very true. That's very true. And something I just want to unpick, though, is like, have you ever felt like any sort of burnout or any need to? I know you said you take the odd day off if it's really bad, but like those vacations you perhaps enjoyed more since turning 40, is that because you do enjoy a little bit more downtime when you get a chance? Or is it always just, I just want to trade every single day?
No. So like guys come on this show, and like I was watching Russell last week, and Russell's going on vacation with his wife, and he's got his laptop, and Russell's probably got plenty more dough than me, or Phil's been on your show, and Phil has his laptops all the time. He seems to know how to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. He's not working all the time, even though he's got the laptops. I don't take a laptop when I trade it. When I'm in the hotel at nighttime, I'll scroll through my Twitter and look at my CNBC app and check some things just to stay in tune with what the market's doing. But I look forward to my vacations. I just was in Tampa last weekend for a Kenny Chesney concert, and I was in Chicago this past weekend visiting uncles and aunts and doing that. And I don't even, and I'm some big stuff happened in the market, but I don't care. I have a skill. I'll just go back to work and make some money. So if I
So you every night you're a fresh, clean slate on your portfolio, or would you hold things ever like through a night or a week if you're in that mean reversion and that thing just keeps on going and gives you no reason to give it up so soon?
flat every night, take the losses, take the gains, minimize things, because you would do better and there's more meat in the trade.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was starting out in my career and I was taking stuff overnight, couldn't sleep, big stock symbols in my head, and it just drove me nuts, and I couldn't sleep. And I'm a singles hitter and a doubles hitter. Occasionally I hit a home run. But every day my account's growing, 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 and then I get a punch in the face and it's a setback. But it's growing, 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 growing. And I decided, no overnights. And that's just, how I do things. I start, I'm in cash every night in all my accounts. I do have an E-Trade account that I wouldn't consider it a trading account. I'd consider that like a self-directed investing account, and I might own a couple of stocks in there that I trade. But I just to clarify something for you guys, it's important to be a specialist. I am a lousy investor. My opinions about the market are always wrong. I am not that good of a trader. I really minimize some big opportunities. What I am good at is I'm very good at identifying setups where the risk reward is really in my favor, and that's what I trade. So I'm not a good investor. I'm not a good market prognosticator. But I have that one skill because I've seen so many setups of like, this is really juicy. This is really good. And that's what I'm good at. So you don't have to take stuff overnight, to be great or, maximize a position. My one skill that I'm really great at is entering trades. Exiting trades, I'd probably, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give myself a 4 or a 5. Entering trades, probably a 9 or a 10. I top tick a lot of things, an ad, or if I'm early, it's usually not by too much. Because if you only trade A+ setups, like the B+ setup that you decide to get in has now turned into an A+ setup, you're probably underwater substantially. Mm-hmm. You can still get profitable in that B+ setup. You might have to hold it for 2 or 3 hours till the end of the day. But I typically get in and out of things quick, and that's a strength and a weakness depending on what market you're in.
Yeah. So are your sales, you would say, earlier or later? How you say your sales are, you would say a 4 on a scale. Is that because you sell them early or you hold on for too long?
I minimize the profits when things go my way. I trade a system, and the system's based on Bollinger Bands and moving averages. And if a Bollinger Band, there's a line on a chart that says, okay, this is where you're going to exit half or exit the whole thing. How many times do I make it to that line? Not often. How many times should I take half off at that line and then do a trailing stop and exit the trade at the end of the day and make so much more money? I'm really terrible at doing that. I wish there was like someone here slapping me with a ruler saying, what are you doing? Stop it.
If you pay enough, I'd come there and do it.
But I'm like not great at exiting trades. So the point I'm trying to get across is you cannot be good at a lot of aspects of trading, but have one narrow focus that makes you outstanding and still be a very good trader. Right. I can correct all the things that are wrong with me if I put the effort into it and got a coach, but I just enjoy the way that I do things, and I don't want to change it, even if it meant more money holding overnight, to answer your question.
Were you always kind of more inclined to the mean reversion versus like, what I call like trending, or like you would call like momentum? So like things in motion versus things reverting. Why did mean reversion appeal to you?
So I walked in this office 20 years ago and they had these scanners, and these scanners, like everybody should have a scanner with a 5-minute with a stocks that are up or down 5% on the day. Like if you're trading like Colgate and Pepsi and Verizon and you're trying to keep your risk really tight, good luck making money. It ain't going to happen in trading. You have to trade where the activity is. So whatever, 10 years ago, the hottest stock to trade was Kmart. And when I got in the business, we were trading copper stocks, fertilizer stocks, oil stocks, like Potash and Mosaic and Phelps Dodge, and all these names were like the hottest things. And then Eddie Lampert took over Sears, which became Kmart, and then that was a wild trading stock for a while. You got to trade where the activity is. Chris, what was your question again? I forgot.
It was basically mean reversion strategies versus trending strategies. Why mean reversion for you?
Right. So they had these scanners, and these scanners, there's like a 5-minute box that shows just things that are up or down 5% of the day. And every time they tick up or tick down, they print again, just like any other scanner. And then there was this box, like the crazy box. I call it the quick strike box. And when something really starts to go parabolic or really dive down, it shows up in this scanner. So I would watch the scanner and watch the stocks that enter this box. And if you learn how to trade with Bollinger Bands, and you learn how to trade with RSI on the 5-minute, and you learn how to trade with moving averages, you'll see when that elastic band gets really, really, really extended, there's a very high likelihood that the emotion is going to come out of that trade, and it's going to mean revert in time or price. So these scanners were there. It wasn't like I chose to do it. I was looking at these scanners, and I'm seeing this pattern happen over and over again with a very high probability of success. You can't create those opportunities. You can't come in and force it to happen. You have to wait for the market to do it. And sometimes it happens a lot and you're very active, and sometimes it happens a little and you're not very active. But that mean reversion came because I just saw this pattern. Like, these were the tools that they gave me to work with in this office, and I was like, okay, let me figure out how to use these tools. Like, if I was fresh in the business today, I'm not sure that that's the path that I would pursue. But I did it for a while and got good at it. Did I master it? I don't think you ever really master anything, but I became, very good at it. So let's call it dumb luck. If I would have just, went to a place where you and Judah are, and you guys were teaching me how to trade breakouts, or I signed up for Mark Menavini's service, I'd be trading breakouts. So it's just kind of where I started, and that's how it happened.
No, it's wild, because I bet you a lot of traders have that similar experience where just the tools or whatever you had at hand when you started trading, that influences, the next 10, 20, 30 years of your trading style in your life. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
If you come into trading and you're new and you decide to join Investors Underground, there's a good chance that you might be a small cap short seller, because there's a lot of focus on that. Where if you go into a room like the Inner Circle, they're trading large caps all day long, and you'd be trading large caps. It's just like where you start and where what you're comfortable doing.
Yeah,
that's important though, because equally you need, like you touched on, IU or wherever, but you also need to find somewhere that resonates with your style, or it's probably going to be quite tough, I would say. If you're not, like, for example, like I initially, when I started, I started like buying breakouts, and I quickly just absolutely hated it, and then just couldn't, it just didn't resonate with me at all.
Was it because the win rate wasn't high enough for you? And
and I still talk about that now. Like, I don't. It's actually really infrequent that I do go long, just because it's a much lower win rate, and I also sabotage myself quite greatly by selling too soon. And then obviously, if you've got a low win rate, selling too soon, actually that's quite difficult then to be profitable. But then if I've got high conviction in, and I'm like really patient with and can hold it all day, actually that's what I'm gonna stick with.
Yeah, on breakouts, your win rate might be 30 or 40%, and you have your profit targets. But Christian Kwalamagi seemed to have a pretty good time trading.
Oh yeah,
trading breakouts.
because Most of the, and like these, like, it's such a great example. Like, I think like Havana, for example, we were just talking about it, like, what, 120 in after hours tonight? Like, there's so much range and opportunity in, like, say something like swing trading, which I do zero of. And it sounds like
Right.
you don't particularly do a lot either.
Zero.
There's still like a lot of money in there, but it just hasn't quite clicked with me.
Right.
Seems
So
to me
you
like,
you know
yeah.
you narrow your focus and you decide, am I going to be a small cap short seller? Am I going to be a swing trader? Am I going to be a trend trader? You have to narrow your focus, and if you try to do all three, you're going to be the jack of all trades and master of none.
Yeah.
You just want to become an expert in one, and then kind of like when you become an expert on one, you can gravitate and do other things, because now you understand what it takes to trade something successfully. But you got to find your niche.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on IU there. I know you touched on a few communities, but I know you've been in IU for a long time now. So, and you touched on like the community when you first started. So, how important is like community to you?
The friends I've made in IU have been great, but they've been more so through going to Traders for a Cause. I would not have gone to Traders for a Cause if I wasn't in IU, and I didn't know Nate. And when I was a very successful trader before I joined IU, but as chat rooms kind of became popular and so forth, like when I got in the business, there was like no chat rooms. There was, Michael Shadkin had a chat room and a couple other people, but they weren't nearly as abundant, as they are today, because it's a very profitable business when done right, but it's a lot of responsibility and a lot of stress, and to do it with a good heart and not just generate a lot of revenues takes a lot of time, especially if you care about your members and you don't treat them like sheep. IU is the relationships that I've made through IU and Traders for a Cause are great, because face it, there's not a lot of people that do what we do, right? I mean, there are, but it's not like meeting another school teacher. How many times do you meet a professional day trader who sits in front of a computer all day long? So it's nice to meet like-minded people, and you go out there and you meet 100 people, and there's 10 of them that you might stay in contact with. There's 50 of them that are you're not too fond of for whatever reason. In trading, I have respect for certain traders. Those aren't necessarily the people I want to go have a beer with and have a good time, but I have so much respect for either their work ethic or the way that they do things. But let me tell you like what I think IU does for me. So I have 2 eyeballs. There's like, I don't know how many people are in IU, 200, 500, 1,000. I have no idea what the number is.
I don't know, actually.
But whatever it is, times it by 2, and that's how many eyeballs you've got. And people are looking at things that maybe your scanners aren't picking up, or they're noticing something, or the technology changes that IU has put in place in the last year and a half. Like, I use Trade Ideas, but Trade Ideas doesn't go on till like 7:20 in the morning. So if you want to see what's making new highs and new lows in the morning, Day Ranger Max created these scanners, and it's like tick, 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 high box, low box. I'm seeing all the activity. I might not trade pre-market, but I'm seeing all the activity, and it's giving me the pulse. All the technology that's gone in there, and you guys are great at like finding like new trends, new information, what's important. Like I get very like, how many of Nate's trades do I take in I don't know, maybe once a week? I have my setup. If my setup is the same as Nate's setup, and he says he's in and meets my criteria, then I'm in, and it's nice that someone else that that I respect their trading abilities is thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. This is a juicy setup. And sometimes you need your hand slapped, too, and a fresh reminder to be a little more cautious. Sometimes that backfires, but you got to know how to use the information that's in the room. but the technology changes, picking up on new trends, forming relationships, having educational content and things like that. I get more out of the holistic experience of IU than probably the money making. But there are, things that happen. There's, last year there was like a stock like that was like 5 cents and it went to like $6, and it's on the bulletin board. And my scanners don't pick that stuff up. And someone mentioned it in the room and like, look at this, and I ended up putting on a trade and made like 15 grand. That's something that definitely doesn't happen if that guy doesn't say that.
Mhm.
So am I relying on IU for my day-to-day income for ideas? No. But is it adding a huge amount of value in terms of being the fastest news service and getting, information, very early on, having all the eyeballs there? Like, that's the true value to me. And
Yeah.
that, a team working together like you guys.
That would be, if Nate was to outline his goals, it would probably be something like that for IU, like, like a like-minded community, pushing in one direction, occasionally coming up with ideas for each other, but a lot of the time actually it's about, finding, helping you find your niche. So no, it's incredibly well said.
The room seems to be, it's geared towards education and helping you. It's not geared towards spoon feeding you with, alerts and things like that. And that's what I like. And if you want to go chase those alerts, do it 1,000 times and see what your results are. Or read 1,000 headlines and understand it, read it. Does it make sense? Is it working? Do I want to join? Things like that. And only do 10 or 15 of the alerts. The new news alerts that come up in there, the AI alerts, all the new technology, it just, it's mind blowing. If I was sitting in a house and wasn't part of IU, I would be like, how is everybody getting that news so damn fast?
Yeah.
Yesterday,
I nailed
algorithmic trading, like in 2009 and 2010, whenever it started, I noticed like this great change in the market. And it's like before someone would say something on CNBC, and if you knew the symbol, you'd type it in really fast and you could be the first one to it. And my ability to make money back then was great, but now that's all gone because you can't beat an algorithm, and 5 million trades can go off before you can blink your eye. So speed isn't the same advantage, but when you get on something early, you can still be early to it. You just might not be first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yesterday was I know you're filming on the 1st of May, but like when the stock, like the weed news broke, like again, it's like having that alert there, having that discussion point straight away, perhaps to help you digest the news, actually might turn that into a trade that perhaps isn't something you've necessarily seen a lot of, but it's so unique and it just makes sense when someone else mentions it. So I think, yeah, I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds fun having an edge just knowing the ticker sign, the symbol though. That sounds quite good for that.
But you adapt with technology. I used to come in, and before there was algorithmic trading, there'd be huge gap up and gap downs in stock in the morning from just an order imbalance when a machine wasn't handling it and a human was. And like by 10 o'clock, my 80% of my money was already made from just trading the morning open. And nowadays, I might not put my first trade on till 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock, or I may not trade. So how I used to make money is that particular setup is gone, and you have to adjust. But I'm still trading fear and greed. It's just I'm doing it against computers now, and they don't get very emotional. They get very mathematical. So some of the fear and greed is gone, but it's still present. But I had to change the way that I'm approach the market. I can't crush it on the open every day. It's now you got to sit and wait for the setup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, well said again. You touched on IU. What other like tools and services do you use?
That's I think important, and something that we can chat about. So the first thing is, like I said, that my trading is based on Bollinger Bands, and John Bollinger invented those things. Thank God that he did. And thank God that when I signed up for this charting service, they're like, oh, you got to have Bollinger Bands to trade this system. I was like, okay, I don't know what the hell a Bollinger Band is. If you don't have Bollinger Bands on your chart, add them. I don't know what the formula mathematically means, but I use 22 and C. So if you're trying to put Bollinger Bands on your chart, do 22 and C. When you look at Bollinger Bands, whether you look at them on a 1 minute, a 5 minute, a daily, a weekly, or a monthly, you're going to start to notice patterns when things go to the upper Bollinger Band, when things go to the lower Bollinger Band, and when things go to the middle Bollinger Band. And when chances are when it gets to the lower Bollinger Band, it's going to go back into the channel, back to the upper Bollinger, and it's going to kind of stay in the channel. And again, it doesn't matter what your time frame is. Look at where great buying opportunities have come in on stocks on a weekly basis, or on a 1 minute basis, or a 5 minute basis. And when you have like the Bollinger Bands on there, you can really use those things to know when to add risk and take off risk. And Bollinger Bands to me are a must, and they're really not going to interfere with your charts too much once you get them on there. So keep them on there. So that's what I would say is a tool that is very important to me. Most of my trading is based on Bollinger Bands. So incorporate them. It just can't be, I just can't be getting lucky all the time. Mm-hmm. So services that I use Trade Ideas for my scanner, and I incorporate some of the new IU scanners also. When you're starting out in this business, you can't necessarily afford Trade the News. That's another service that I have. It might be $200 or $250 a month. It's expensive. Briefing Trader is another good service, but again, expensive, $250, $300 a month. Things that are inexpensive, that are not going to provide you instant gratification, but are going to help you build the knowledge base from factual and knowledgeable people. There is the guy, Adam Crucifelli, who's on CNBC every now and then. He has a newsletter, Vital Knowledge. So you can subscribe to Vital Knowledge for I think it's like $300 a year. And you get an email every day in the morning at 5:30 in the morning. And it tells you what happened overseas, what the markets are doing, all of these different things. It talks about upcoming meetings. It talks about who's reporting earnings. All of these things can be used to help you make money or to keep you out of trouble, but to build your knowledge base. You're never going to get good. If you are just a small cap short seller and that's all you're doing, you're only interested in small caps. It doesn't matter what the S&P is doing. It doesn't matter what's happening overseas. You just kind of know, is a small cap market hot or is it not hot? And that's the only thing that I really need to know. And when I see the setup, I'm going to get involved. But Trade the News is great bang for the buck. And if you read it every day, you will become a lot smarter. And I find the guy's input to be excellent. It's very accurate. Fly on the Wall is another news service that I use. I think it might be $1,000 for the year for everything. Every morning, you get every single earnings report in there with a blurb. And if you want to start building your knowledge base, start reading these earnings reports. So, who made earnings, who missed earnings, how are the stocks reacting. So Fly on the Wall is great value. If I only had one service to use, I would say, given the value that Investors Underground provides, because of all of the things that they've brought together with technology, community, and everything, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And as you become more successful, there'll be tools that you can afford, and you'll add those tools. I use another service called News Edge. It's like a news aggregator. It takes the Fly on the Wall, it takes Street Insider, it takes Business News, it takes all these different news wires, and the 8Ks and 10Ks, the Edgars, and it pumps them all in there. But that's like $350 a month for all that. So it's expensive. And when you're just starting out, you can't have $1,000 a month in tools because they're not going to really do that much. You don't know how to trade yet. But if you want some bang for the buck, the vital knowledge and the fly on the wall, I think, are good, and you can add as you make more money. But put Bollinger Bands on your charts.
Yeah, cool. No, thank you very much. And I mean, you're not at all paid to say, "Are you?" That was just a pure coincidence, and actually just a pure, just a happy customer, which is great. Which is great.
Yeah, I could give you a list of things I don't like about IU, but we don't. You have to understand, what it is, and not everything in there is gospel. And we all have opinions, and there are people in there that it's like, oh, okay, I'll just fade him. He's always wrong. And there's other people that don't make any sense, and they want to post because they're new, and it's like, well, no offense, but I'm not clogging up my screen. I'm just, there's a nice feature, allows you to block somebody. I don't think you're an asshole. You're probably a fantastic person, but you're not adding value to my job of making money. And this is a resource that I use to make money, not to keep me entertained. It's like my Twitter feed is not filled with, lots of funny things. It's people that help me make money. Some of my best friends in trading, I don't even follow on Twitter because I don't want to be bogged down with all the stuff. You either help me make money, which is my job, or I eliminate it, or I don't use it.
No, well said. And well, I think before we move on to, we need to think of a catchier title for the last segment. At the moment, we're calling it "Fun Questions." Hopefully, most of the show is fun. Just hopefully. I don't know, Chris, Judah, is there anything that we've missed so far that we just want to ask on?
No, I think we've covered a lot, and I think that was a good summary of a lot of different services. And like if you break down like what all these services are trying to do, they're basically inputs to the trader to help them do their job better. And like you were saying, like IU over the last couple of years has tried to hit a lot of those marks, and I think it has, from scanners to news to everything. So I think that was a great way to kind of just like show what services that a professional trader actually looks for, and then what people need.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's funny actually, because like we had like an outline that we're thinking this is probably where this conversation is going to go, and it's just naturally, it just seems to have gone there and just ticked absolutely every box that we wanted to cover, just like naturally. So it's just been perfect. So the contest winner. So what has been a key takeaway from the episode, or your biggest aha moment? And I think this one is from Russell, which was, now it'll be probably a couple of weeks ago. Key takeaway: what is the best habit that viewers can implement? And he just instantly pulled up his notebook. So he said, get a notebook and just write what's working and what's not. And simple. So Aaron Ribeiro 9860, you have won a free month of IU. Email tyler@investorsunderground.com. And same again this week. Key takeaways from from anything that Scott said, anything, any comments, likes, just fire it away. And if you're lucky, Chris will pick you out and you'll win a free month of IU. So Scott, I don't know if this one goes in the fun camp actually, but hopefully it's a good question. Which traders or people inspire you in your work?
Good question. There's probably too many to name, but I definitely want to talk about a couple. I work with this guy Patrick, and he's been sitting across from me for 20 years. Pretty good trader. Pat's in a wheelchair and has been for 20 plus years. He's got a wife, he's got 2 kids, and he doesn't bitch about anything. He doesn't have the dexterity and quickness that I have with my hands, that because of his condition. But the way that he's able to be successful at this with that condition and go and live a life and not complain about it is really fucking inspiring to me. Like that is awesome.
Yeah.
You guys know T530 in the room, right? So he's a friend of mine. He wakes up at 4 o'clock. So I work pretty hard at this. He wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning, reads research for an hour and a half, goes to the gym for an hour and a half, and then gets on with his trading day, trades all day, and does research at night, and is always being very creative in how he approaches things and very strategic. His work ethic is something to aspire to. I don't want to work that hard, but watching him do it is pretty damn impressive. People like Brian Lee that are very successful traders that still take the time to educate. Do I agree 100% with everything Brian says? No, but that's the beauty of it. Hopefully, you have some conflicting ideas sometimes, but it's tough to argue with Brian. He's usually, pretty good. I met Ricky Analog out in Vegas. Ricky posts all of his losers. He posts his winners, spends times with his family, cares about his kids, lives a good life. Very good. Always been, I'm not going to say envious of Phil, Godeker, but, unbelievable trader and has, bounced around to different strategies. That's a real exceptional skill and has good work-life balance. Is just a really all-around nice guy. Never been a dick. Just a good guy. Trader that, I look at Nate, and I've known Nate for a number of years. Do I know Nate super well? No, but I see him every year in Vegas, and we have chat. His work ethic for the first 10 years, the amount of time that he put in, and the amount of sincerity. Do I want Nate to change a few things? Sure, but my wife will probably say that about me too. That work ethic was just on display every day, every night, every weekend. People that are good people and work hard, they deserve success. Some of these young kids that are coming up, probably too many to mention, but they're those are some of the people that kind of come to mind.
Yeah, well said, and that's a great list. That is a great list. What has been your best purchase under $1,000 recently? I mean, this is more aimed at like something in real life, not a stock or whatever. But you can say what you want. It's your show.
Oh, that's an easy one. There's a Asian massage parlor down the street, and you buy 9 to get the 10th free, and it's called Happy Endings. No, I'm messing with you on that one, Sam. I think Robert.
I can pick up your humor just about. Yeah, does sound fun though.
So I'm gonna break the rule about the $1,000. I just remodeled my home last year. We knocked out our kitchen and put in a new kitchen. And instead of getting a Ferrari, I got a really, really nice kitchen. And one thing that I got was a independent ice maker. And I like clear ice. I like good tasting ice. I like cocktails. I like cold water. I like drinks. Getting a ice maker where your ice is not cloudy. And I think they have a desktop version that makes that Captain Crunch ice by General Electric.
Good ice.
Yeah, so good ice. If you can get good ice for under $1,000, for as often as I use ice, that's been a big treat for me. How's that for a boring answer?
Sam needs it
Good
for
answer.
life bats.
Because I have that machine.
So you spent over $1,000 for clear ice. Wow.
Oh no, my machine's like $3,000 or $4,000. It's like a built-in thing. It makes, I can fill a cooler on a moment's notice.
Yeah, that is actually what I do need for my house. Although I'm not particularly fussy on whether it's clear or not. But yeah, no, I
Well,
think
clear ice tastes good. Cloudy ice, that's, when you're looking at your drink and it's clear ice. If you're not, you got to use bagged ice,
yeah. I mean, especially when you drink as slow as you do, and you've got to look at it for an hour or so. Then yeah, I get what you mean. What is the best habit that viewers can implement starting tomorrow?
Well, we touched on this a bunch, but you got to become an expert in one thing before you can move on to level 2, level 3, level 4, all of these different levels. You have to become an expert. So how do you become an expert? You narrow your focus and you put your blinders on. Yesterday somebody made, I don't know, millions of dollars trading weed stocks momentum to the upside. I watched that thing for like 3 hours trying to get a short sale off. And there was only one setup that I like, and it turned out to be a scalp because it went on to make a new high. Narrow your focus. Pick the one thing that you are going to master, that you are going to be good at, and don't worry about anything, but make sure you're developing a system. Because if something's not working and it's bad, and there's a better system, like if you want to go be a small cap short seller, go to Investors Underground or go to Brian Lee. If you want to, trade breakouts, go to, Mark Minervini or Larry Tentarelli or, go to Pradeep Bond's site and learn how to do all these things. Narrow your focus and become an expert in one thing. And that's how you start. You have to narrow your focus. The second thing to do is, take the approach of this is like 3 to 5 years you want to develop a skill. Developing a skill doesn't feel really good when you're doing it, but once you are an overnight success after 5 years, you've built something that no one can take away from you. Mm-hmm. If you're really focusing on like getting into trading and making money, that's probably not a good idea. So narrow the focus. And if you're already trading, a piece of advice for you is just cut your trades in half. So if you trade 10 times a day, try to go down to 5. I just have this feeling you're going to make more money if you do that. I only trade A+ setups. Sometimes, I'll trade a B+ or, but I don't get FOMO. FOMO was something that I experienced early on in my career, and it is the worst. It has no benefits whatsoever. Narrow your focus, reduce your trade number of trades.
Well said. No benefits to FOMO. I like that. What's a great piece of advice you've received? I mean, I don't know if it can be recent, whenever you started, any point.
Yeah, so I would say that like this goes, my uncle said this to me when I was like in my 20s. And I was like, oh, that's pretty clever. Life is not about what happens to you, it's about your reaction to it. And that's about attitude. And last year, when I had a 7-figure loss in top, and I had my first losing year as a trader. I've been doing this for 21 years, never had a losing year, never made under 6 figures. Last year, my peace of mind got destroyed. I learned about a massive hole in my game that was exposed. I put some rules in place. But getting back to your answer, the answer to your question, it's not about what happens to you, because you can't always control those things. It's how you respond to it. So that's, to me, what determines, a winning attitude and being a winner and being a great person.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. Great. That's really great. Now, I mean, it sounds like the answer to this is making clear ice. But the favorite thing or things to do when you're not trading?
I would characterize myself as a food and alcohol enthusiast. I like to drink good wine. I like to go out to restaurants. I enjoy food. I like grilling. I like to party. I'm 55, but I live, like I'm 35. I like to have meaningful relationships with my friends, people that I like. and I like to do fun things with them. I like to have experiences, take pictures because my memory sucks, and be able to go back and look with them. Um, there is James Clear, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits, said, "He who has the most fun in life wins." And life is about having fun, having a good time. And to do those, you want to have, if you break it down a little bit, you want to have personal and professional successes, like being successful at trading or being a doctor or school teacher, firefighter, police officer, moving up the ranks, making more money, and so forth. You want to hopefully have a loving family. I've been blessed with that, and still love seeing my mom and going out to dinner. Both my dad's dad and stepdad have passed, and grandparents, but having a loving family. But the third thing is having meaningful relationships with people. Not having 1,000 acquaintances, but having that 10, 20 people that you truly love hanging out with. I love doing things with other people, making people laugh, having a good time. That's what I do when I'm not trading. Now, if you do all that stuff, you're definitely not going to optimize your trading and get a high sleep score with with these guys that are focused on that, and you're going to be a little hungover. But it's balance in life for me. I'm 55. I don't need to double and triple my net worth. I want to just go have the most fun I can have, for the rest of my life. And if it cuts me short a few years, I'm not going to have any regrets, in the end. Living it how I want.
I think Sam's going to ask for the ice machine in your will eventually, but
Yes. Yeah. Can I have that and your alcohol collection in general, please? I'll take those two.
I just had, how well my friends know me. I just had my 55th birthday party at my house, and I said, please, no gifts. Every single person showed up with either a bottle of wine or a bottle of alcohol. And then you get, one ugly shirt that you're not going to wear. Don't buy people clothes. If they drink, get them a bottle of wine or alcohol. No one wants to show up empty-handed. So, those that know me well. So I guess my friends know me pretty well.
Yeah.
And you narrowly escaped an injury at that birthday party, or you didn't quite escape. Could you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so things started off pretty good. I said I'm not going to drink before the party starts, although I went in the jacuzzi and, I think I had a beer or two in the afternoon. And party started around 7:30 and we hired a bartender and so forth. And it was at my house. And we had about 70 people there, and I would have had more if I had a bigger home. It's just kind of capacity. So then the tequila shots started happening. The Jack Daniel's shots started happening. I'm drinking my, vodka soda cranberries. And I got pretty lit up by 7:35. No, but, later in the night. And I was getting pretty rowdy, got a little physical with the friends, the fraternity brothers, the throwback days and so forth. So I don't know, it's probably about 11:30, 12 o'clock. I had this heavy duty coffee table out back and got on the table and I started dancing, and my wife's just rolling her eyes, putting on a fucking show. And I'm dancing, moving around like, I think I'm John Travolta or something. And I lose my balance and I eat it off the coffee table, and I like twisted my foot, and like the next morning I just woke up and I had like a Fred Flintstone foot. It was like, it looked like I stopped the car with my foot. And as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, that's really gonna hurt. And then I got right back on the table and started jumping around, which is probably the worst thing, that I could do. So if we're ever at a party together, keep your distance unless you want to, roll the dice.
Well,
Or remove the tables.
Yeah, keep you off tables. I mean,
I did get 3 singles, so I did have some generous neighbors that tip me. Former Chippendales dancer that I am.
No, you sound like you're. You just sound like you get life right. That's what does come across, and it sounds like you're content with all your decisions. So that's beautifully said. That sounds like quite a crazy 55th birthday for to get that drunk by 11 o'clock and be dancing on tables and then you get tipped $3. I mean,
So my buddy says to me, he's like, he texts me, he's like, your birthday party seemed to be growing with intensity. He's like, the 55th was much crazier than the 35th, and I can't wait to see what the 75th is like. You know, we'll probably be doing smash up derby and wheelchairs and things like that. But trading gives me a peace of mind. And when you have, I'm not in the richest, I'm comfortable, but money solves money problems, and I can go do, what I want when I want. And if I don't have another year like I did last year, well, I had a good trading year. I had one really bad trade. You guys, I'm sure, know the symbol.
wow.
TOP, and that was I'm still scarred, and that conversation would probably be about 45 minutes. So when I get back to my high water mark, maybe we can come on the show again and talk about how top scarred me for life. But it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it.
Yeah, you're back up. That's the important thing. And
yep.
Speaking of partying, Vegas this year?
For sure. Yeah, I love it. Last year read all the for viewers, read every Market Wizards book and read Stan Weinstein's book, How to Profit in Bull and Bear Markets and Learn Stage Analysis. I forgot to mention that. Those things are very important, but the latest Market Wizards book had Jason Shapiro in it, and he came to Traders for a Cause and spoke. And Jason, he's funny, and I wanted to meet him, so I went up and I started talking to him. We were chatting, and then there was that great moment where he was on stage with, what's that kid's name? I think it's Triforce Trader.
Yeah, Matty.
Yeah. So they are two fucking polar opposites, and they were like, Jason was looking at him like, and Triforce was looking at him, and it was such a like a great moment that you can just take two pros, put them up on stage, totally different things, and that was a great moment. And a couple of years ago, I spoke at Traders for a Cause. After my first minute of stage fright, it was just letting it roll and cracking.
That was brilliant. After your first minute, you had your script or whatever, your notes just went in the air, and then it was bang, here we go.
Yeah, if you sign up for Project Impact at Traders for a Cause, you can go on and see my speech. It's on there. It's not on YouTube, and it has some great analogies in it that may help you stay focused.
No, it's brilliant. I highly recommend. No, thank you so much for your time tonight. I mean, I know you like an hour conversation, and we've gone almost double that. So thank you. It's been great.
Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate you, Scott.
This was awesome.
Hopefully, see you in Vegas. Hopefully, I'll give you a chance at a rematch that Sunday.
Again, I have to fake it again.
Judah and I might join that contest this time.
And while you guys are thanking me, I just want to turn it around and thank you guys. I watch a show, and you guys all contribute in the room hugely. I don't contribute in the room hugely. My style's just not too conducive to it. But I do like to give back by doing interviews. But the amount of time that you guys spend doing this and the thought that goes into it, big shout out to you guys, for doing this. It's going to come back to you in spades. So keep up the great work, be great people, and peace.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. Catch you later, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of Trading Takes. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please check out some of others with some great traders. Thank you for watching.